Alrighty, what's up? Welcome back to Speech Podcast 3. Today we're going to be diving into something a little bit more heavier than usual, but it's something about we hear, unfortunately, a little too often, mass shootings, and more specifically, how we talk about them. So this is from this chapter called The Last Mass Shooting, and the title is kind of ironic because it's about how people keep hoping each mass shooting will be the last, and of course it never is. And yeah, so let's start back with Parkland, Florida, back in 2018. It was Valentine's Day, and a former student walked into Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School with a semi-automatic rifle. 17 people were killed, 17 more were injured. It's a lot of numbers. There's also a lot of lives changed forever. What made Parkland stand out wasn't just the tragedy itself. Sadly, we've seen too many of those. But what happened right after, students almost immediately took to social media. They started posting, organizing, calling out politicians. And within just days, they had a hashtag called #NeverAgain. And a group identity called Never Again MSD, pretty soon they were meeting lawmakers, organizing the March for Our Lives rally in D.C., and going on a national tour. That kind of momentum was something we really hadn't seen before. And now Serber digs into the slogan Never Again, and it's powerful, right? It's short, emotional, and easy to chant, but he connects it to this idea called the warrant of the dead. It's basically when we say, because people died, we need to act. So after Parkland, the idea was because students died, we need gun control. Other times, though, the same warrant of the dead gets used in different ways. Gun rights advocates might flip it and say, because people died, we need more guns to protect ourselves. The formula stays the same, but what we do with it, that X in the equation, changes depending on your politics. But here's where Serber gets skeptical. He brings in other concepts. The apocalyptic sublime. Sounds fancy, right? But it's actually pretty simple. It's the idea of always waiting for the end of something big, like the apocalypse, but it never actually comes. Instead, you live in this state of anticipation, stuck in some cycle. He compares it to Sisyphus from Greek mythology, the guy cursed to roll a boulder up a hill forever, only for it to roll back down every time. That's the kind of what happens when people say never again. After every shooting, you roll that rock up the hill, pushing for change, hoping it'll be the last, and then another shooting happens, and boom, the rock rolls right back down. It's very exhausting, but also, strangely, people get caught up in it, and there's a weird fascination with tragedy. The news covers it 24/7. Social media fills it with hashtags and debates. We cannot look away. And even though it's awful, that's part of what makes it sublime. Terrible, but also compelling. So, when you think about it, was Parkland really different? Some people thought so. One reason, I'd say, was because the students themselves, they weren't really little kids. It's like at Sandy Hook, where the parents had to speak on behalf of the victims, and they weren't college kids. Like at Virginia Tech, who didn't quite capture the national conversation the same way. These kids at Parkland, they were teens. They were right in that sweet spot. They were old enough to speak powerfully, young enough to carry moral weight, and they were skilled too. Some had debate training. Many were digital, experts who knew how to use Twitter and Instagram to get attention. Within a week, you have people like Emma Gonzalez. She had more Twitter followers than NRA, and that says something about their reach. They also didn't stop at social media. They came up with what they called the Parkland Manifesto, a 10-point plan that included things like universal background checks, banning high-capacity magazines, extreme risk protection orders, and requiring safe gun storage. They even influenced businesses. Dick's Sporting Goods stopped selling assault rifle weapons. Companies like Delta Airlines and Hertz cut ties with the NRA. Even the NRA's insurance provider backed away. For a group of high schoolers, pretty impressive. But to every win, there's a flip side. There was a setback. In their own state of Florida, lawmakers did pass some reforms, like banning bump stocks and raising the gun buying age to 21. But they also approved a program that let schools arm teachers. And that wasn't exactly what the students were hoping for. In other states, it was the same old pattern. Some passed stricter laws, others loosened them. Tennessee and Oklahoma, for example, expanded the gun rights after Parkland. so the country stayed just as divided as before. And of course, the mass shootings kept happening. Santa Fe, Pittsburgh, Thousand Oaks, El Paso. I mean, this list is just, it goes on, it's going to keep going on. And this promise of never again quickly looked really unrealistic. So, to end this all up, this never again, it's inspiring, but it's also risky because it promises something we probably can't deliver. Perseverance, and it just might not sound as catchy, but they help movements survive in the long run. And honestly, that might be the lesson here. It's not about one big fix that makes all shooting stop forever. It's about showing up, speaking out, and making progress where you can, even if it's slower than you'd like. But yeah, appreciate you listening. Cue the outro music.